Hello everyone, I welcome you to the channel Kaushik's Astrology. In today's video, we are going to discuss about a personality or a birth chart of a personality who is very famous and, or should I say, very infamous. That person, which we are going to talk about today, shocked the world of stock market in 1990s. He was called the mega star, or should I say the Amitabh Bachchan of stock market. He made so much money in 3-4 years that even the people who were not into the stock market world become interested in stock market and wanted to try their hands in the stock market. Without further ado, let me disclose his name and you may be yourself aware of him. His name is Harshad Mehta. Harshad Mehta was an Indian stock market broker. His life is not a simple life or a normal life. He was born in a very middle class and low family, and by his middle age he was on the cloud 9. He was on the top of the world. He had the most expensive car in the town, bought the most expensive house of the town, was sitting around the big politicians. It was unimaginable for a boy born in a very small time flat where only 2-3 rooms were there and 10 to 12 people were living in that small flat. To make that big, it is kind of impossible. So let's look at his chart and try to understand what combination he had which made his life from rag to riches and glorified him as a personality. First of all, the chart that you see in front of you has the number 6 in the first house. The first house, when I talk, is the first box that is just in front of you having the number 6. See, this time many people will say that how do you get the right time of his birth? The birth time is actually internet reference. I don't met any person that who knows him personally, but we can verify his chart by a few things. First of all, you see he was a Virgo ascendant. In many web series he is shown as extrovert or overly excited person, but a Virgo ascendant person can never be so. He should be very articulate. He should be very perfectionist type. He should be very patient, as Virgo people are not those who show off by words. They rather show off by their actions. His real life dressing sense, walking way, sitting, approaching, the way he approached people and the way he used to meet people and express his emotions in the real world, which you can see through the interviews, was a very Virgo type. Now the second thing which confirms his birth time is that if you see his 5th lord, 5th house is the house which shows the child or the offspring of any native. Now if you see his 5th lord Saturn is exalted in the 2nd house. Saturn is a male planet. Saturn is aspected by Jupiter and Ketu from the 10th house. Now Jupiter and Ketu are also male planets. If you look at the 5th house from his moon, because if we are looking for the child, we not just look from the 5th house from the ascendant, but we also look from the 5th house of the moon. If you see 5th house from the moon falls in the sign of Scorpio, and the lord of Scorpio, which is Ketu, is placed with Jupiter and Mercury, and this house is also aspected by Mars. So there are multiple male planets aspecting the 5th lord from the moon and the 5th lord from the ascendant. which shows that he must have a male child. And he had a male child, and that was his child name was, I don't remember it right now, but we'll discuss and look for it in the later part of the video. Now, by this thing you can confirm that this birth time that we have for discussing his chart is very true and very correct. Now moving to the most interesting and the part for which all of you have clicked on this video to understand what really did he had which made him so rich and so fast, and particularly by wrong means. Now if you look at his fifth house and his fifth lord, which is Saturn, is getting exalted in the second house, or is placed exalted in the second house. Second house is the house which shows the source of income for a person, and Saturn represents cheating, lying. Whenever Saturn is aspecting or Rahu is aspecting the second house of any person, that person earns money through either bad means or things which are non-living. Now in his case, he earned money by lying. He made false promises to the people, false promises to the banks, and took money from them and used it for his own profit and own benefit. Or if I say in the terms of the newspaper, he himself once claimed that I didn't do any cheating, I just used the loopholes in the system, which in general word you can say he did corruption. For the normal public or the layman, he just did corruption. It was just a better way of presenting his fraud. Now if you look, not just second house, but his 11th house also have Sun, which is a malefic, and Mars is having 8th aspect on the 11th house. On the 11th house you can see there are two malefic aspects. This also confirms that his way of earning, as 11th house shows gains, or his gains is going to be from either bad means or either through non-living things, and it was both in his case. When I say living and non-living, the thing you have to understand is that some people are into business where they deal with living people, just like for a doctor deals with a living person. But a stock market broker, he doesn't deals with the living things. He actually dealing with that stocks, which is a non-living thing. Now, not just the living thing signification of the malefic planets, but also the cheating part has also played out very well in his life. He made money through bad means. Now, the dasha which given him the extreme ability to make this money was the dasha of the Ketu. Ketu is a planet which gives very quick and unparalleled success. All the babas and the gurus that you see in real life who become equal to God or even way ahead of God for some people have the good aspect of Ketu on themselves. Or should I say they have very strong Ketu. Ketu gives that kind of success to a person. Same thing happened with him. His Ketu was aspecting his second house, the source of income house, which showed in his dasha in 1990 he took a loan of 637 crore rupees from a single bank, and the bank didn't even bother to ask him why he need this loan. He was so good at doing and dealing with people and managers and the executive at the high places that it was just a cakewalk for him to get a loan of 632 crore rupees or 37 crore rupees in the 1990s, which will be equal to 2000 or 3000 crore rupees today. This dasha of Ketu which we were talking about started in 1990s. He made a huge amount of money in this time. Now, not just money. For doing a fraud like this or of this intensity or this level, you need a kind of courage, because a normal person cannot, go to a big bank and ask for a loan of that much amount that he can never pay in even his 10 lives, because he wasn't earning that much. It was a very open secret. So you need to have very high courage, and the courage of any person is seen through the third house. If you look at the third house of Harshad, third lord is Mars, and it is sitting with Rahu. Rahu acts as a catalyst or a steroid. So now his third lord is on steroids. So earlier he was just a skinny kid. His courage was a skinny kid without that Rahu. But now with the Rahu, that Mars and the third lord is now become Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is on steroids and he is high and he can do anything. So this is what happened with his third lord. So the third lord, which signifies courage, is now with sitting with Rahu, which is a catalyzer, which is a steroid. So his courage is on cloud 9. You cannot be as courageous as him. And this actually was the reason why he even picked up a fight with the PM. And it is no task of a weak man or a fearful man to pick up the fight with the Prime Minister of a country who can make you should I say in civil sense, can do multiple wrong things with you in your life, and nothing is going to happen to him. But he still did challenged the Prime Minister of India at that point of time, and with his lawyer made a press conference where he showed that I paid a bribe of 1 crore rupees to the Prime Minister PV Narasimha Rao for this scam, and he just publicly defamed the Prime Minister. So that need a courage, and that statement that we often listen from the web series Scam 1992, that risk hai to ishq hai, which in English means that if there is a risk, then only I will fall in love with that task. If there is no risk, I will not even bother to look at that task. So he was that kind of in real life. Something in the web series were really very relatable to the real person. Now look at what dashas and what transit he had and what time actually it was when he made this much of money. See, in 1976 he graduated from his college and got the degree of BCom. And he worked in very small time firms as a broker and in various commerce firms as a small time worker. I really don't know that much of the terms of the position that a commerce person get, but let's move further. So he actually started doing stock market broking in the Antardasha of Jupiter, and the Mahadasha at that time was running of Mercury. And in Mercury Saturn Dasha, he actually become a more stock lover, or I should say more of a person who used to be at every day on the BSC road or Dalal Street to look at what stocks are going up, what stocks are going down. So his love for the stocks even become better and better and bigger, and his knowledge also expanded during this time. An ultimate jump in his wealth actually came in the Ketu Dasha in 1990. Now the reasoning for this, that why he gained so much of money in that Mercury Jupiter Dasha, if you look at his birth chart, Mercury is actually his Lagna Lord. And in Bhav Chalit chart is a chart that shows the real position of a planet, like which house the planet is really in. Because in Rashi chart we see apparent house position of planets, that it may be in this house. The Rashis will be of the Rashi chart, but the house in which a planet is, it should be confirmed from the Chalit or Bhav chart. So in his Bhav chart, Mercury is in 11th house. Now 11th house is the house of gains, and Mercury is the Lagna Lord. This is a kind of Raj Yoga that you are going in this Dasha or in this time period, you are going towards solely for your gains, as Lagna Lord is placed in the 11th house. And this is what happened. This Dasha started in 1974, and since 1974 he was solely thinking of gaining money. He even tried hand in many small time businesses, and that is what was running through his mind in this Dasha from 1974 to 1990. And he tried also earned a lot of money in this dasha, not as much as he earned in the later part of this dasha. Now coming to the important point, that why it was Jupiter Antardasha which made him interested in stock market, or the reason he got into this type of profession. If you look at his chart, his 8th lord Mars is placed in Sagittarius in the 4th house with Rahu. See, 8th lord is a planet in the birth chart that shows sudden events, unearned wealth, hidden wealth, or death. And when your 8th lord is placed in the sign of Sagittarius, and Mars is not really very strong in Sagittarius, so we can clearly see the note of the actions of Mars or 8th lord are definitely going into the hands of the sign lord, and the sign lord is Jupiter. So now the actions or sudden events signified by 8th lord Mars are going in the hands of Jupiter. So whenever Jupiter Dasha and Jupiter transit will come, Jupiter will start giving the result of sudden events, unsolvable problems, or quick money, or unearned money. Now if you see, his 11th lord Moon is in 11th house itself, in its own Rashi of Cancer. But the nakshatra in which this moon is Punarvasu. Punarvasu nakshatra is ruled by Jupiter. Now Jupiter has also established its control on the 11th lord Moon also. So now the gains are also in the hand of Jupiter, and sudden events are also in the hand of Jupiter, and Jupiter itself is sitting with Mercury. Mercury is well known for representing commercial world and economics and stock market and all the gambling stuff. So it was, now I think it is very clear for anyone that Jupiter Dasha was going to give him the result of getting into some kind of gambling or sudden way of earning money or quick way of earning money, because Jupiter has the control of the 8th lord, the 11th lord, and the 8th lord signifies certain gains and 11th house signify gains. So now there is going to be a lot of money from unknown ways or unknown places for coming in his bank account. And that what happened in 1986 when his Antardasha of Jupiter came. He started dabbling into the stock market, and the door of the immense wealth just opened for him. Now the reason he got so much of wealth, because see, there are hundreds of people every day and every year going into the stock market thinking that they can make it big there and they can buy the big piece of the bread which is available in the stock market, but that doesn't happen. Very less people get the kind of success that he had. So to look for the wealth, we need to do a special analysis, and that special analysis that I'm talking about is related to a specific point in the birth chart, which is Indu Lagna. The calculation of Indu Lagna we are not going to discuss in this video, we will discuss in some other video. But let's take the Indu Lagna and understand what is happening with his Indu Lagna. Now his Indu Lagna falls in the 8th house of Aries. Aries sign is there in the 8th house, and Aries is the fast moving fiery sign, and it is placed in the 8th house, which is of sudden gains. So we can say that his way of earning will definitely be Aries type, very fast, very new, and the 8th house signification will also be there of sudden and unearned wealth, an unknown way of earning money. So that is what actually happened. Is Indu Lagna was showing clearly that he is going to make money through ways which are not well known, and his earning will be very fast, and his growth will be like a rocket, not like a rickshaw or a tortoise. It's going to be a rocket success. Second he is just on the ground, and the next moment he will be on the moon, and people will be shocked, like how come this boy next door have become a billionaire in just a week. Now, the planets which are aspecting the Hindu Lagna are exalted Saturn and Rahu. See, Rahu, the seller of steroids, the steroid himself, the obsession himself, the expansion himself, the nuclear bomb himself, is aspecting the Hindu Lagna of wealth. So the steroids which were earlier given to Mars will also be given to the Hindu Lagna, and his wealth is definitely going to be on roids, and it is going to be abnormal in a general way at that point of time for the people, and which it was. He actually made so much money that the whole world was shocked. He was on the cover of every single magazine of business, of lifestyle, and he was even named as to be the next richest person of the India. But all that was shallow, because Rahu is a steroid seller, and by taking steroids you may become a winner today, but you are not a horse of long race. You may fall today or tomorrow or someday. The other planet which is actually very important to discuss and is aspecting his Hindu Lagna is Saturn. The exalted Saturn is aspecting his Hindu Lagna. Remember, Saturn is said to signify poverty, but only when Saturn is weak. If Saturn is exalted, the person has unparalleled wealth. You have to keep this in mind, because Saturn is also the significator of petroleum, and we all know how rich the sheikhs and the people who deal with petroleum are. They don't even need to move for their whole life. Everything just comes to their door because they are so rich. The same way Saturn does play out in real life in the birth chart. If it is strong, it gives you so much wealth that you don't even need to move from your place to do anything. And his birth chart had exalted Saturn aspecting his Hindu Lagna. So he was going to make money without doing anything or any physical work, and that's what happened. He was just sitting on a computer and pushing the fake stocks up and down and making billions and billions of money. On the other hand, some other person at that point in time will be working hard day and night just to feed the stomach of their family, and here on the other side he is making so much money by just sitting on a computer and doing virtual world things. Now, one more thing I would like to tell about his Hindu Lagna and the wealth part is that if you look at the Bill Gates chart, even Bill Gates' 11th Lord was aspected by exalted Saturn. So it is very common in the birth charts of wealthy people to have exalted Saturn aspecting an important point signifying wealth in their birth chart. Now, see, we have analyzed the ups and all the highs of his life, but let's move to the low part also, because as the song says in the web series, Mat kar maya ka abhiman, maya kaat se gari, which means that don't be so egoistic about the wealth in the material world, because it is way more brittle than the glass. And that's what happened. He made good, or should I say great, or should I say excellent amount of wealth in the dasha of Ketu. But Ketu is just like the Joker of Batman. He may give you a push, he may put you on the biggest throne of the world, but it is just for his own entertainment, because the day he's going to get bored, he's going to throw you much under the earth that you ever would think you can go. And that would happen with him in the first part of the Ketu Dasha, which was running in his life from 1990 to 2001. In the first part of this Dasha, he made enormous money. He was the most famous man at that point of time. But as I earlier told you, Ketu is the Joker of Batman. He is not going to give you a stable success. He's just putting you on the cloud 9 for his own entertainment. And that's what Ketu did with him. The time he made all the wealth that he wanted. Now Ketu said, the roller coaster ride is ending. You have to go down. And he thrown him so deep in the ground that he was defamed, publicly harassed, He was called fraud, and people called him whatnot, and the life become worst for him in the later part of this dasha. The 2 years of enjoyment in the first part that he had was no way equal in comparison to the bad days he faced due to this Ketu Dasha. Now, in 2001, sadly, he passed away. See, in astrology, we don't discuss about what led to the death of a person because that is not in our hand, it's a God's act. So, we are not going to discuss that, but let it be. He was a good person, but maybe it was just the dasha that was running that made him do the things that he did. May God give his soul the peace which he was unable to get when he was alive. Now, there is a very interesting point that I want to make in this video is that many people that I meet and see in the comment sections, in the videos and everywhere on the internet has glorified him buying the Lexus. Lexus was a very, for the people who don't know what Lexus was a big expensive car in 1990s. You can say it had the status of a Rolls Royce, or maybe equal to Rolls Royce back then in the Bombay circles. Nobody from Ambani's to the Tatas had the Lexus, so he wanted to have the Lexus, and it was a status of show off at that point of time. When he first came to the office of CBI for interrogation, the officers were clicking pictures with the Lexus, thinking that maybe we will never be able to get to see a Lexus again. That was the glory of this car, Lexus. Many people have, coming to the earlier point and the actual point which I was trying to put forward, was that he has been glorified with the image of that car. But actually, if you see, or should I say, it may surprise you that this Lexus contributed a big part in his fall. Now you may think how that can happen. See, there is a very particular scene in the series Scam 1992 where it is mentioned by the elder brother of Harshad that don't show off so much of money. When our father showed your birth chart to a local astrologer, he said his Saturn is very bad, so you shouldn't show off the money, otherwise you will be falling. But Harshad ignored the comments of his elder brother and said, know what money can do, what Shani can do when you have so much money in your pocket. So he ignored that. But in real life, if he had listened to the people who suggested him not to buy Lexus, he would have been in a very different position today. The reason for that, what I'm saying, is because if you see his 8th lord is Mars, and it is placed in the 4th house, and 8th lord shows unsolvable problems. Whenever you are going to activate your 8th house, remember you are calling for a beast or a dragon that you cannot handle. So he did what he was not supposed to do. His 8th lord of unsolvable problem was placed in 4th house. So the day he bought expensive cars, the day he bought big houses, he was going to get starting the result of the 8th house. And particularly, to be particular, his 8th lord Mars was in a Sagittarius sign, and the 8th lord from Mercury was Saturn, from Moon, because whenever we analyze the chart, we also look for the same kind of combination from Moon also. And if you look, the 8th lord from Moon is Saturn, and it is placed exalted in the 4th house from the Moon. So from the natal chart and the moon chart, from both the chart, it is clearly visible that his 8th house is going to be activated the day he is going to buy some expensive house or car, because that is what signified by the 4th house. 4th house shows the house, 4th house shows the car that you have. And particularly why I say the Lexus created the whole problem, because if you see his Both the 8th lord from moon and the natal chart are placed in benefic signs. There are many books in astrology who have referred that if there is a benefic sign in 4th house, it shows person buying a sedan. If there is a malefic sign, the person is going to rather buy an SUV. If there is a planet afflicted in the 4th house, he's going to buy a sedan. He's going to buy a hatchback, the cars which don't have the back, like small cars like i20s, Altos, Mini Cooper, all those type of cars. His 4th house had Mars and in the sign of Sagittarius, and the Sagittarius sign was way stronger than Mars and Rahu. From the 4th house of the moon, the 4th house had the sign of Libra, where Saturn was exalted. So both the natal and from the 4th from the moon showed that buying a sedan will definitely going to activate his 8th house, and he did what he wasn't supposed to do, and he bought that Lexus. And rest is just a history, and how that Lexus made him a beggar from the king, and the rest is just the history, what has happened after that Lexus. So it is just a small point I wanted to make at the end of the video. In no point I'm saying that that I am better than anyone else by pointing out that Lexus has just changed his life, but it is just an observation, because astrology is just a subject of speculation, and you cannot stop speculating, because if you stop speculating, there is no way you're going to ever get right predictions. So it is my observation, and I am very sure that this is what led to his destruction, or the destruction of his wealth. So this was the video. So this was the video of today. If you liked the video, please do like and share with all the friends that you know are interested in astrology, and do comment what things you found interesting and what queries do you have from this video. Do subscribe for more such astrological content. See you in the next video. Goodbye.